Hello, happy Tuesday. It's 5 p.m. In the UK. It is 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the reason why I'm mentioning times in America is that the Dan Assor Show is going live to San Diego in the USA today. So I'm very excited. My special guest is waiting in the virtual green room. Thank you to everyone that's watching live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and also everyone that's watching on demand and listening on demand on Spotify and Apple podcast platforms. Thank you as always to my show patrons, 19 Group, Tarsus Group, CISO and Smart Digital. Visit danassor.com for all of my content. And please subscribe to the platforms that I mentioned. So you can just search Dan Assor on YouTube and on all audio platforms. So today I welcome Josh Hotsenpiller, who is the CEO of the event tech platform JUNO, which is a single destination for events, networking, learning, and data. And Josh has had 4 successful startups. He's had SaaS solutions adopted by Fortune 100s and leading NGOs. And he's a TEDx alum and US State Department speaker. So without further ado, after that grand intro, welcome, Josh.
How you doing, Dan? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. I don't know if I pronounced your surname correctly, but I gave it a chance.
It was one of the better I've heard. So great job. Great job.
It's all right. You can imagine what versions I get of my surname, Assor and all sorts, right? So I've lived with it. So I'm sort of paying it back. Really good to see you. I know that you are in San Diego and it's 9 a.m. over there. How are things over in San Diego today?
Man, it's always good here. It's it's a little dreary. It's a little London looking today, actually. But we're doing good, man. Fresh off of PCMA and a little rest for the weekend and ready to get back after it.
Yep. And you've got the obligatory swimming pool as well, which, you know, us Brits don't have swimming pools in our back garden. So lucky you.
You know, you can't live in San Diego without a nice swimming pool, you know.
It's not a virtual background, right? It is real.
It's not. This is where I live. Yep.
You know what we'll have to do, Josh, to prove that it's not a virtual background is have you jumping in the swimming pool, but maybe another time.
Well, and the door is always open if you ever want to come out. So there you go.
Josh, we've got you for about 30 minutes, so I'm going to get on with it. We're going to talk a lot about human interaction and how that relates to both shows and culture and retention of talent. It would be remiss of me not to start off with, though, about your recent experience, both individual and from a company perspective, at the Professional Convention Meetings Association Convening Leaders event, which took place in Las Vegas last week.
It did.
So really keen to understand, even more so for my UK audience who maybe haven't been able to travel to the States for a while and even attend a live event. What was that like?
You know, first of all, we always say this, you're never going to replace the rush and the energy of just people being together. And It's always fun just to see people come back together, share embraces, share ideas, share energy. And we had an absolute blast just being there. Our booth showed up. We had a big 6'5" astronaut that people could hang out with. Yeah, it was fun. So just to be there and exchange energy and exchange idea, it was really a treat. And as we've exited out of full virtual, to be on site while your product is being consumed is incredibly stressful. But fortunately, it went wonderful, and we were really pleased.
Fantastic. Was it the first time you've attended, or is that something you go to every year?
You know, it's funny, man. I attended PCMA 3 years ago on behalf of another company that I own called Wisdom Capture. And I was there sharing some other ideas and very new to the space. And so this is the first time I've been there for JUNO.
Yeah. What do you think the key takeaways were from the event? I mean, maybe speaking to people both on your booth and generally in the networking events, what were people saying to you just generally about not only the return to shows, but, you know, maybe the event tech space and the industry in general?
I was really pleased with how much people want disruption in the space. I had so many people come up to me and say, thank you for introducing new energy, new disruption, new ideas to our space. And I feel like that's a new sentiment, because during the height of this experience, people were very frustrated about having to use things like Juno. And now that we're coming out of it and we're starting to see the benefit of the and, not the or, it was really, really neat to hear people say, we're excited about, and I'll give you an example, Dan. I was a virtual speaker at the event for a session. Okay. And I went into a conference room that we had previously used for a session, and I popped my laptop up and I began to speak on Juno to the virtual but also physical audience as I was in a room on site. And I thought to myself, what a cool thing where I can go into a room at PCMA at their event, speak virtually, but then I noticed several people that were there physically in their hotel rooms streaming my talk because they wanted to be in their hotel rooms. Yeah. And so I think it was neat to see the product function in a way that was creating more utility and more value to a physical and virtual event.
Yeah, because I think it goes to the point that people, and this is the same for TV, right? And, you know, just generally how we consume content. We want to consume it when we want it and where we want it. You make a really good point, because I didn't think about that. People are actually, you know, at the event or in the place where it's taking place, but at least if they can't, you know, they can't attend every talk, they're still there physically, but they're still watching you virtually, which is quite an interesting thing. And I know that you won Best Event Solution, so congratulations on your community platform.
Listen, we're excited about community. We believe that people and problems are intrinsically better and solved when people come together.
Absolutely.
And so we really see ourselves not as an event tech platform. We see ourselves as a single destination platform for learning, networking, problem solving, engaging, everything that any digital experience that crosses paths with people, Juno wants to be the solution for that.
And I've watched a lot of your talks, and obviously we had a pre-chat before this live. And, you know, what resonates with me is that everything you do and say is all about connecting human beings to purpose. And I think, you know, you've coined that phrase yourself. We're going to get into human interactions in a minute, but what drives you? How did you get to this point? You know, because I know you've got quite an interesting background, which I'd like to sort of bring out. And
I think it does have to do with where, you know, I grew up the son of a preacher man. And
that's a song. That's definitely a song somewhere.
It is a song. It is a song. And as a result, you know, I actually pursued that and created a faith community. And what I learned through that season of my life is, first of all, how important people are. That's first of all. Every single one of us has forever value. And the second thing is, we don't get told it that often. Dan, I just got off my all hands meeting, and I said to our team, if nobody's told you yet today that you matter and you have exponential value to this world, I'm going to be the first one to tell you today. That's what I told my team. Sure. And if you're listening to this, either live or on demand, the same thing. I think we have to understand that I always say two things, Dan. We're not promised tomorrow, and we can't take anything with us. And so the impact that we leave today on others matters. And what I found is when we live in that present mindset, we produce better outcomes. We treat people better because we understand that the present is the most valuable. And so, I think my background of just understanding the importance of humans and the value that they have, and making sure that we know that, has then produced the desire to build software that facilitates that as well.
Yeah, really interesting, because it's easy to think, you know, all these tech platforms set up and people come at it from a, you know, it starts with the technology and trying to, you know, solve a problem that exists. But actually, in your case, it's come from your being and who you are and your principles. I want to talk about, obviously, trade shows, because a lot of the people and exhibitions, a lot of people watching will be in that sector. And really, your thoughts on how we can create human connections at trade shows, both physically and digitally.
So in our run of show that you sent me, we'll kind of bounce around a little bit, because I want to talk about human interest modeling.
Okay.
Because I think that's what ultimately our belief is, and you see it experienced in Juno. We believe in two types of interests. One is a declared, and one is a discovered. And your declared ones are the ones when Dan comes on a platform, he goes, I'm going to tell you, platform, what I'm interested in. And that's what you declare to us. But then what happens is you start to play around on the platform and look at other pieces of content and other things, and you discover that there's actually other things you're interested in too. And what we do is we take declared and discovered, we build tags around Dan. So we have a profile on you, and then we score it so that we can connect you to other people. So when you get on Juno, there's a recommendation engine that basically hierarchies everybody in the entire event. And then there's a trending one that says, Dan, here are the top 10 people you need to know based on your declared and discovered and their declared and discovered. And every partner gets to kind of build those out as makes sense to their organization. So when you think about connecting people, what we want to do is say every single person shows up to an event for a reason, and then they discover other things they're interested in while they're there. And if our software can help map that, then we can create more meaningful exchanges with people and more of a long story of connection with people.
Yeah, because I think that's really important, right? I think, lots of people, they go on a virtual event and they consume content, and the content's great. But there's lots of case studies, especially over the last 18 months, people that I spoke to and things that I've read and also sponsors or exhibitors that I've spoken to, where the networking hasn't worked as well. And that comes back to actually, as you just said, making sure that people understand what it's in it for them, speaking to like-minded people. So you sort of overlaid that. I guess it's almost like a psychological and behavioral profile that's used in other sectors as well, to try and match people.
Dan, I've got a front row seat to other platforms in the industry because we've talked about different partnerships and stuff. The reason why networking is falling flat is because it's not networking. There's no intelligence behind it. There's no real methodology behind it. It's basically, hey, Dan, here's the 3,000 people at the event. Happy hunting. And you're like, well, how am I supposed to know who's who?
Yeah.
And unless there's some intelligence and methodology behind sorting people, I've been blown away how many platforms don't have that. Yeah. They market networking, but then you go, well, tell me how it works. And they're like, well, you just kind of go look for people. And you're like, well, that's
Which, interestingly enough, I would possibly argue that the reverse is true, maybe on the show floor, where you go there for that, to a certain extent, for that serendipitous moment of bumping into somebody, right? But obviously, it's unlikely you're going to do that on virtual. You're not going to keep scanning, oh, hi, how you doing? Maybe we can have a chat. If you're online, that's too forced. So it's hard to replicate that.
That's why I think the story it's always going to, going forward, it's going to be an and story. We want serendipitous connections on the trade show floor. We want more connections. I've never heard anybody say, man, I left an event and I wish I wouldn't have made so many meaningful connections.
Yeah.
I always hear him go, and I don't know if it's like you, but you're like me, but I'll go to an event, I'll look at all my business cards that I've got, and maybe 20% of them are what I was looking for. And so then you leave going, oh my gosh, I left with 80 cards, and then, 20 of them are worth it. And you're like, what am I supposed to do the rest of the year? How do I continue this wave of momentum of connecting to the right people? And that's what the future is going to allow us to do as we think about a single destination platform and not just a once transaction moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know with regards to your organization, and lots of organizations that are hiring people remotely, either around the globe or in one country. And talk to me about how you've created a culture at Juno. And I know you've done this for other businesses that you're in as well. And I think I read that you had hired at one point 70 people in 60 days. And you possibly hadn't met most of them, if any of them sort of physically. So, and I guess the whole human interaction piece we just spoke about is relevant for that as well, right? Establishing.
Dan, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. And it's not even something that I would recommend again. It just, it sounds good on a one-liner that I hired 70 people in 60 days and everyone's like, whoa. And you're like, and it was unbelievably taxing. And one of the reasons why is because not only do you have to hire people to execute tasks immediately, they've got to adopt a culture. And culture is super important to me. And so what I've done is I've created something called the 7 E's, and we'll have to share out what those E's are. But it's 7 behaviors that I want to make sure we live out all the time. It's things like energy and in well and excellence. And it's all these letters that start with an E, but they say like, this is how we're going to behave. And when you begin to build behaviors as the standard. So like similar, I got 2 little boys, they're 10 and 12, and we have behaviors in our home. There's certain ways Hotsenpillers behave. One of them is, I'll give you an example. My son's on a travel soccer team and they were running around the pitch. And I said to him, he's, middle of the pack, but he's not even trying. And I said to him, I said, how we behave is we give our best. Yeah. And if your best is middle of the pack, then it's middle of the pack. But if I see you loafing, that's not excellence. That's not energy. And so there's behaviors that you begin to create structure for. And anytime somebody behaves like it, there's there's a saying from a speaker that says, what gets rewarded gets repeated. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Yeah. And so if your kid throws a temper tantrum and you give him what he wants, what does he do? He repeats it. If an employee acts out and everybody stops and does whatever, they repeat it. So vice versa, when somebody behaves correctly and you reward it, it gets repeated. And so for me, we have 7 things that we hold the line on, and we reward it when it gets done well, and we kill it when it doesn't. And that's how that culture begins to get set up. And I was mentioning to you, we just did our employee survey.
Yes, I'm going to come on to that, actually, your employee survey. Yeah, tell me about that.
So you always get nervous when you do these, right? Because they're anonymous. And so it really is like that proof in the pudding, like nobody, everybody gets to be anonymous and say it. And so it's been neat during this incredibly exhausting year. And so it's out of 5. And our scores in Q2 was a 4.0, then a 4.1 and a 4.2. So it's continued to go up. And I thought to myself, for all these people that have never met, that are working virtually, that are working stressful hours, that are dealing in the tech business, that don't even know each other.
Yeah.
For us to get a greater than 4 out of 5 when we're in a great resignation era is pretty stinking awesome. And some of the ones I'll call out, which are pretty cool, is a 4.5 on, this is a really high score on employees here always keep going when things get tough. Then my supervisor and I have a good working relationship, and my coworkers and I have a good working relationship, 4.4. You're talking about only 4s and 5s out of everybody in the company that says, me and my boss rock together, me and my employees rock together, and when it gets really hard, we rock together. Those are 4s and 5s across an entire company that doesn't even know each other.
That must give you immense satisfaction, and obviously, cements the processes that you're putting in place. Coming back to those 7 E's, I've got them in front of me. You've got expect greatness, effort, excellence, end well, earn everything, engaged, and energy. So I guess that's your sort of framework, also for your how you run the events as well. I guess, but instill it in your clients.
It is, and look, life, you don't always fulfill those, and when you don't, you own it. So like, there's been plenty of times, Dan, this year that we were launching things and going on, and maybe one of our E's didn't happen. And again, when it doesn't, you stare it in the eye, you call it out, and you get back to it. But everything starts, Dan, with expecting greatness. You've got to wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to expect amazing, beautiful things to happen. And I don't want to wake up and expect something negative to happen. And so our culture starts when we wake up in the morning, we go, doggone it, something great's going to happen. And I'm going to be the energy behind it. I'm going to put the effort into bringing that greatness. And so all those E's start to work together on behaviors that you bring into the world.
I have to say, as a Brit or from an Englishman looking in, that's a very American thing, right? And I say that in a positive thing. The Brits, I'm sort of generalizing here for anyone that's listening, are sort of a bit more reserved. I
was laughing. Our COO is a Brit, and he oh gosh, why is the name escaping me? What's the TV show with the American coach, the soccer? It's everywhere. What's the show?
Can't remember.
Anyway, he laughs all the time because I'm such a rah, we're gonna, and he's and we joke a lot about it, but it is an American thing. It is more of it is. But I think at the end of the day, I really do believe this. I mean, you can't control life. We think we can. We want to be able to. It's just factually not true. What we can control is how we show up and how we respond to life. And I think that's important.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I think, you're also spending a lot of time and investment of time and money hiring a lot of staff. You talk about the great resignation, and specifically in the trade show industry, and I can speak for trade show organizers, there's a little bit of lack of talent in certain areas that they can bring on board. So actually retention is really important. So having a culture, it obviously helps improve retention. Would you agree with that as well? I mean, that's another reason.
Oh my gosh. I mean, listen, I always, here's my little leadership structure that I use.
Someone's just put Ted
Lasso. Yes. He always jokes with me. That's it. Thank you, Matt. That's awesome.
Retention, staff retention.
So here's my little leadership structure. And I think I really do believe this works. Every single person that works for an organization wants opportunity to have the moment. They want opportunity to lead. They want opportunity to be in charge. They want opportunity to grow. The second thing they want is autonomy. They want to be able to solve problems the way they solve problems. And one of the things where I think organizations fail is they don't give opportunity to people. They try to put them in a little box. Then they try to tell them how to solve the problem. So opportunity, autonomy, and then here's the third one that's so important is accountability. I'm going to give you all the opportunity in the world. I'm going to let you solve the problem how you see fit, but we will hold accountability as a value. And I found with our team, people love the opportunity to have the ball. People love the opportunity to solve it the way they want to. And then when accountability comes in, they don't point the finger back at you. They actually have the ability to look inwardly because you've given them opportunity and autonomy. So that's my framework of leadership that I use. And I've watched it work over and over and over again. When somebody doesn't hit the mark, they're not mad at me. They're looking inward at how they can grow because they've had the freedoms to lead.
Sure. Thank you. Just following on from that, you talk a lot about values and vision and how it relates to the mission of a business as well. And again, how it translates into what you do as a business. Just bring that to life for us, please.
It's funny, my previous life, when I was running a faith community, there was always a question that people would ask where they'd say, so what? So what?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with you, Dan. So what with this podcast? And if you can answer the so what, you're going to be in business. And
my wife says that. My wife says that to me a lot. What are you doing? So what?
So what? No, but it's funny. But if you can answer the so what, so what that you're doing this podcast. So what? Here's the so what. Then all of a sudden, that's where mission and value begin to come in. And for us at Juno, I mean, the so what is that we believe that connecting people together to solve problems will change the world. That's our so what, and we've got to solve that. So I think so what is what mission comes out of.
Thank you. So I've only got you for another 2 or 3 minutes. I want to move on to we're into 2022, 2.5 weeks in. So possibly the trends have changed already.
Exactly.
So quickly.
Okay.
But it'd be great to get your view on the trends for the next 12 months, please.
Look, I believe wholeheartedly in consolidation of platforms. One of the things that we're talking a lot about, and it was actually the main stage speaker talked about at PCMA about a super app. And, you look at a platform that has multiple utilities across it with a single data set. And this industry and industries like it's been so fragmented in technology. You've got your learning management system, you've got your credentialing, you've got your community, you've got your networking, and you've got all this fragmentation. And if you look at the future of tech, and you see this a lot in the Eastern world of super app, where it's coming in and saying, let me give you an example, and I don't have much time, but I did all my Christmas shopping on Instagram this year. I didn't even realize it until I look back. Yeah. And Instagram is a photo sharing app that now is a marketplace. Yeah. That's what a super app is. It's where you begin to have greater utility on one product. And that's the biggest trend I'm going to tell you you're going to see next year is these products coming in saying you can come here to meet business relationships, to purchase things that you need to purchase, to network where you need to network, to learn where you need to more utility on a single platform. Yeah. That is going to be the most significant thing. And then you're going to find these events, you are going to see, I guarantee you, there's going to be a mass shrinkage of people on site. Through inflation, through costs, through health, you're not going to see the numbers on site. You will see an extension of digital connection. And that's why you're going to need more of a super app, a super platform that brings greater utility in one environment year round. So there's going to be a continued appetite for tech. There's going to be a consolidation of platforms and in human physical bodies on platforms. And there'll be money that's saved when you're not spending tens of thousands of dollars on square feet in a trade show floor when you can use it on a digital. Those are things you're going to see. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. And just finally, what's in store for what can we expect from Juno in 22? So a crystal ball.
Yeah, we're going to automate Juno. We're going to make sure that organizations out there that are providing physical services can use Juno, but Juno will not be just an event tech. We will be the place that your people go to network, to get credentialed, to learn, to drop into cohorts with 25 other people they've never met and view content they've never seen. Our system's going to drop those cohorts in and provide so much more value to your members and help you fulfill your value proposition of educating and networking people around the subject matters that you're all circled around. So we're going to automate that. We're going to deliver it to partners, and we're going to make a big splash.
I'm absolutely confident of it with your energy and and your drive. I wish you all the very best.
It's that American spirit, Dan.
Look, someone's put Juno 22. Let's go. There you go, Kyle.
Let's go.
We should get you on to do some motivational speaking. Listen, Josh Hotsenpiller, thank you so much, CEO of Juno. I'm going to pop you in the virtual room. Don't go anywhere. I was going to do a quick wrap, but thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
So that was Josh, CEO of Juno. Thank you, everyone, again, for watching live and on demand. Head to danassor.com for all of my content. I've got some great shows coming up next week as well, so you'll hear all about those on LinkedIn. I'm just going to play you out with my exit reel, and have a great day.